The challenge in Israel is that 60% of the country is desert, the rest is semi-arid. In recent years, the situation of water in Israel was actually on the edge of catastrophe. And we had to take some immediate measures like ban on irrigating landscaping and some taxes and so on. And we signed actually an agreement with Turkey to bring water into the country. We didn't know exactly how to do it. People were thinking about huge balloons that will be towed by boats and or old tankers. But then, you know, Israel decided to put together some good minds and build some kind of a sustainable water economy and society in Israel. And the comprehensive approach actually brought us to where we are today. The first thing, the first challenge was to build a clear legal framework. So in Israel, there's one water law that says that all the water in Israel belongs to the people of Israel and managed by the government. There's no such thing as having private water in Israel. You cannot dig your own well and pump your own water. In a very few cases that you get a permit to pump your own water, the government puts a water meter and there is a quota, and you cannot overpump over the quota that you get. There's integrated water management. There's one water authority in Israel that manages all the water, as I said, the people's water for the people. Water economy, you pay for every drop of water that you use in Israel. There's a kind of a scale, I mean, you pay, there's a basic rate for the home consumption. And it goes by the number of people in your household. If you want to use more, let's say you have a swimming pool or you want to irrigate a large lawn, then you pay extra for the delta. There's a different cost for agriculture, different cost for industry, different price for sewage treated water, but you pay for every drop of water that you use. There was a campaign, and this lady was part of the campaign, building a water-saving society. Someone told me, by the way, I don't know if you remember James Schultz, who used to be the Secretary of State, he passed away several. I participated with him in a conference in Stanford a few years ago. He ran it, and someone said, to illustrate the difference between Israel and the United States. In the United States, when it's raining, kids in the kindergarten sing, "Rain, rain, go away, come back another day." In Israel, we sing, "Geshem, geshem mishamayim, kol hamon tipot hamayim, tif tiftaf, tif tiftaf, machau, kaf and kaf." Rain from heaven, it's a joy, clap your hands, enjoy something like this. And then I said, that, you know, during the break, if you want, I can sing this song. and there was a break, and I was going away to grab something, and James Schultz said, wait a second, Naty should sing us a song. And I sang it, and he started singing. He was 90 plus. He started singing some of his kindergarten songs. And why am I telling you this? Because the Secretary of Agriculture of California, which is a key figure for our work, was in that meeting. And several years later, the CEO of Netafim USA had a meeting with her, and of course he needed something from the government. And she said to him, you know, for you, I will do everything, because Naty made James Schultz sing a song at a conference. So I have always to remind you that I wear a hat of a business, and I'll talk about it in a minute. So we spoke about price, water economy. technology and innovation is where we get into the picture. There are other technology aspects. Wastewater recycling. We are #1 in the world. Almost 95% today of our sewage, of our wastewater, is treated and reused for irrigation. There's a very large, it's called Shafdan, south of Tel Aviv, the largest, perhaps one of the largest treatment facilities in the world, that takes all the sewage water from the metropolitan area of Tel Aviv, treats it, and pumps it to the south for use of agriculture. There are about 600 small local facilities. This one in a place called Omer. A couple of people here from Omer originally. So Omer, I always say, Hatzerim is a suburb of Be'er Sheva, west of Be'er Sheva, and Omer is a suburb east of Be'er Sheva. So this is Omer. There are 600 local facilities of treating wastewater. Desalination. We have 5 large desalination plants. I think that for example, in the town of Hadera, perhaps 100% of the water that they use is desalinated water. National percentage is perhaps 60%. 60% of the water that we use for domestic purposes in Israel is desalinated. Our technology is drip irrigation. And this is drip irrigation. You know, at the top is a beautiful picture of potato field in France. In the bottom, it's a graphic image of tomatoes. And this tells you, I mean, what we mean when you irrigate the plant and not the soil. I'll show you later what flood irrigation, this is completely different. And the idea is to spin, well, my accent I cannot change on English, I'm still working, so I wanted to say spoon feeding. For some reason I said spin. Drip irrigation is spoon feeding each plant at the right place, the right time, with the right quantity of water, not only water. Nutrients are delivered with the system as well, so sometimes we call it not irrigation, but nutrigation. Now I want to move to our story, the story of Netafim, and a little bit my personal story, which is kind of embedded in it. Kibbutz Hatzerim was established in the desert of Israel in the south, not far from Be'er Sheva, in 1946, October 46. As much as I wanted to take part of it, it was quite difficult for me. I was 2 years old at that time, and I lived in Haifa, so they wouldn't accept me. But one night, Motza'ei Yom Kippur, the evening of Yom Kippur, 11 settlements were established in the south to show that we are holding this area. You see the picture on the top left. Water was always an issue for us. So this is putting the first water line to the kibbutz from the wells near kibbutz Nir Am, which is near Gaza, about 30, 40 kilometers. And you see there's one person who is working, welding the pipe, and 8 people that are making sure that he is doing everything right. And this is how we work in the kibbutz until today. So I tell this joke, and always there's someone from Australia, China, United States. This is not unique to the kibbutz, it's the same with us. But it is unique to the kibbutz because they're representative of each committee. The education committee, the finance committee, the cultural committee, and so on, they're all representatives. You see, by the way, the bottom left, there's a pile of metal pipes, 6-inch metal pipes. This is, again, a unique story. An Israeli engineer by the name of Simcha Blas, who was the head engineer of Mekorot, the national water company, found that in England, during Second World War, the bombing of London, they used those pipes to pump water from the Thames to put off the fires of the bombing of London. And then after the war, they had this huge stock of pipes, and Simcha Blas purchased all those pipes, and you could see all over Israel. And you see the location, this is where the kibbutz was established, nothing around us. Well, I want to say not a single tree, there was a single tree, and until today, the children of the kibbutz call a certain hill the hill of the lonely tree. And in the center, you can see the picture of the kibbutz today. By the way, right bottom, the first two tractors of the kibbutz. And this is the kibbutz that I joined in 1964. I was a chalutz. You know, at the age of 16, you are they say that if in the age of 16 you are not a socialist, you have no heart. If at the age of 50 you are still a socialist, you have no brain. So I was 16 and I was highly motivated by the ideology of the kibbutz, and I decided to leave my family in Haifa and move to the south as a pioneer. I must confess that I don't know what took a better part in this decision, whether it was the ideology of the kibbutz or looking for adventures, dreaming about driving the tractor in the endless fields. So it was a combination, and I came to the kibbutz, and the center top, it's me with the undershirt planting cotton in the fields of the kibbutz, probably in 1967, I guess. But we were a farming community, and we had a big challenge. The soil was very poor. We had a lot of salinity, and we had one failure after the other. We wanted to be farmers, and it was tough. So we decided, the salt crisis, by the way, at a certain time, Levi Eshkol, who was the finance person of the government, came to us and said, guys, it will be cheaper for us to keep you in a hotel in Tel Aviv than here in the desert, because we are keeping pouring money and nothing grows here. So the members of the kibbutz decided to leave. And then David Ben-Gurion came and said, it's okay to leave, but we stay in the desert. So if you want to live, further south. So then the members said, you know, if this is the case, let's try and fight the situation. And we got some budget and some allocation of water to leach the soil, and farming became a little bit better. But we decided that we need some kind of an industry. And we asked Uri Ferber, a dear friend who was the treasurer of the kibbutz at that time, used to drive to Tel Aviv, said, go and look for a factory, for a business, for an industry, but try to make it, number one, connected to agriculture, because we are farmers, a modest investment and no risk, please, because we didn't have much capital at that time, diversity of jobs and solutions for aging community. I mean, can you imagine? Some of us were already 36 years old, even 38, and we were 20, they looked ancient to us, and it was clear. I mean, how many years can they still continue and drive the tractor in the field? So we decided, and again, we had another thing. One of the ideas of the kibbutz was that we can use only our own members. We cannot exploit the labor of people who are not members of the community. So we said, please find a business which is 8, 10, 12 employees. Not today, we have 5,000. So Uri went to Tel Aviv and he met Simcha Blas, again coming to the stage. And I heard Simcha Blas, and you will hear him too.
Simcha Blas, an irrigation engineer for more than 40 years, has been working with the irrigation problems in Israel. Compared to the 5,000-year-long history of irrigation as such, this is hardly an impressive length of time.
Once I saw a long fence trees. Among them was one exceptional, big and tall, and the reason of that, I observed that connection of the pipeline was dripping, leaking, with drops who fell near the tree. The drops penetrated the light soil, and the soil around the tree was dry.
So we had so we had a general assembly. We were called in June 65 to the general assembly of the kibbutz. This is where we make all our decisions. Every kibbutz member has one vote. I have some experience in business. I have one vote. Liora, who is the best psychologist in the world and presumably doesn't know anything about business, she has one vote. There's a big difference. She always makes the right decisions, unlikely on business, I mean. So someone presented this invention and said, guys, this is an invention. Simcha Blas was quite frustrated because he was looking for partners in the government, other kibbutzim. No one believed that this can work. And when Uri came to him, he said, Uri, you're an idiot. No one believes in my invention. But we said, you know, it's not a big risk. We need to buy one car. If drip irrigation doesn't work, we can sell it. We need to buy one plastic injection machine. If drip irrigation doesn't work, we can sell it. We don't need to build anything because we have some room at the corner of the carpentry, the nagaria, the wood workshop. We can put the machine there. We need 8 people to start it, and we have the people, and we started Netafim. We decided. So I voted for Netafim, but I said to myself that I'll never work for Netafim because I came to the kibbutz to be a farmer, not to work in industry, not to sit on a table and assemble drippers. By the way, on top, this is the original dripper of Simcha Blas. So this was in June of 65, and we decided to establish Netafim, and fast forward, this is Netafim today. We are #1 irrigation company in the world, headquarters in Israel, unfortunately in Tel Aviv, not anymore in the kibbutz, but it's nice to drive to Tel Aviv from time to time. We have 19 manufacturing plants all over the world. Fresno, California, Mexico, Chile, Peru, Brazil, South Africa, China, several in India, Turkey, Australia. By the way, the last one was opened a few months ago in Morocco. So we are all over the world. We are working in more than 110 countries. As I said, 5,000 employees, and a little bit more than $1 billion sales. We are part of the Orbia group, which is a multinational global group of companies that has like 5 business groups. And we, Netafim, we are the precision agriculture group of Orbia. And in a way, once acquiring Netafim, Orbia made aliyah to Israel. Orbia has 4 global headquarters, Mexico City, Boston, Amsterdam, and Tel Aviv. So we are part of that group, but we still are farmers, working with farmers, and we know how to talk to farmers, and this is one of the reasons for our success. We had a challenge at the beginning. People didn't know and didn't believe in drip irrigation. I am being asked, who is your competition? Our #1 competition is ignorance. It's not being aware to the advantages of drip irrigation, especially among decision makers. So we are using all kinds of platforms and collaborations to bring the message. And do we mention my involvement with Global Common? John Farner, who is the current Chief Sustainability Officer of Netafim, is sitting in the same organizations, and we are using them. And by the way, JNF is also a partner, helping us in some places. And of course, government and academia and so on. Stockholm Industry Water Award. I got a phone call in 2000. 13. I got a phone call in a Swedish accent. Mr. Barak, we are very happy to inform you that this year you are receiving the prize. I was sure that we are getting the Nobel Prize. So we didn't get the Nobel Prize, but we get this very prestigious Stockholm Industry Water Award. And we got Lior had to buy a special dress, and I had to rent a tuxedo. And we met with the king and the queen of Sweden. And the queen, by the way, was very much interested in kibbutz life. Apparently she grew in Germany at the time where young Germans were very much interested in the communes and kibbutz and so on. So we had a long discussion with her about it, and this was one of the happy moments that I personally had. What are the challenges of the global challenges that we are addressing? So in simple words, and everyone knows it, the population is growing, and we have much more mouth to feed, and we don't have more water, we don't have more arable land, and we need to find how to more than double the food production. And the key issues this is agriculture, food, feed, fiber, like cotton, and fuel, some alternative energy, comes from agriculture. And there isn't enough water. The way that water, people are not very much, everyone is talking about water scarcity in Africa and how babies are dying and so on. This is what is written here, municipal, but domestic use of water globally is less than 10%. 70% of the water globally goes to agriculture. So first of all, you have to save water in agriculture. Now in agriculture, only 24% of global farms is irrigated. But out of the irrigated fields, you get 40 or 50% of the food. So first of all, you have to irrigate. And then you have to irrigate in an efficient way. And today, unfortunately, only 7% of the irrigation in the world is micro-irrigation or drip irrigation, micro-sprinklers. 18% sprinklers, and 70% flood irrigation. So even today, with the growing awareness and droughts and so on, this is the most popular irrigation method in the world. And even in California, Israel is number one. In Israel, 75% of the irrigation in Israel is drip irrigation. California is perhaps number two with 45% drip irrigation. But globally, only 7%. And flood irrigation, it wastes water. There's a lot of greenhouse gas emissions, so global warming is affected by this. It is bad. It's very nice to travel in the Philippines or in China and take those pictures of the rice paddies, but it is terrible for the environment. And I always give the example of pair of jeans, which I always wear. I don't go like this to the dining room in the kibbutz, usually. One pair of jeans in its life cycle is consuming, 1,000 gallons of water. 1,000 gallons of water for one pair of jeans. 10% in the manufacturing process. 40% is in washing the jeans. This is why I've constantly fight with Leora. I don't want to wash my jeans so often. And by the way, someone said, it was an urban legend, that Levi's came with the idea, don't wash your jeans, fold it, put it for 24 hours in the deep freezer, it will kill all the germs and you can use it again. I spoke to the vice president sustainability of Levi's and he denied it. But I told him 50% of this 1,000 gallons or 4,100 liters is using in irrigating cotton. And I told Levi's shouldn't buy cotton from farmers who do not use drip irrigation. I mean, look at the bottom line. 1 kilo of beef is using 15,000 kilos of water. 1 pound of beef, 15,000 pounds of water. And the world is eating more and more beef. So this, I think we already saw. We're talking about drip irrigation. This is what we offer. It's a comprehensive system. It can be a very advanced system with sensors and drones and data from the cloud and controllers and so on. And it all ends with drippers dripping, like Simcha Blas said, next to the plant. It can be an open field. This is a corn field in Turkey, and or it can be subsurface. This is potato field in the Arava in Israel, and you see the dripper lines sticking out at the end of the bed. It can be a very sophisticated greenhouse, which is like a factory producing tomatoes. I mean, they call it tomatoes, but I tasted it, it's exactly the same. And they get, I mean, a good farmer will get 100 tons per hectare, and they are getting 650 tons per hectare with our system. And then we developed something which I find our real challenge. We developed the family drip system for poor smallholders in developing world, in rural Africa, in India, and so on. The idea is that you don't need electricity, you don't need a pressurized system. You take a tank, you put it on a makeshift tower or something, you put the water in, you mix it with the nutrients, you open the valve by hand, you shut it by hand, no computers, and I'll tell you a secret. The plant doesn't know the difference. So if you do things correctly, you will have the exact results as if you invested $20,000 in artificial intelligence for irrigation. But you need to train the growers. And we are not training them. I mean, it's very easy for Israelis to go to a farmer in Niger, in Africa, and say, listen, I'm coming from Mount Sinai in Israel with the Bible of drip irrigation. Listen to me, follow what I say, and you will succeed. This is the wrong attitude. The right attitude, in Hebrew we say to talk begova einayim, at eye level, to talk to them as equals. And say, listen, you are growing chili pepper in Niger, and your father grew chili pepper in Niger, and your grandfather. So you must know something about how to grow chili pepper in Niger. And we know something about drip irrigation, so let's create a dialogue. And this is what we do, and this is, I would say, the main reason for our success. We had another chapter of pioneering, and this was moving from Kibbutz Hatzerim to Los Angeles, putting our name on this covered wagon. This is how we left all the way from the kibbutz to Los Angeles to start our first subsidiary outside of Israel. Again, the kibbutz at the beginning wasn't in favor of members of the kibbutz traveling all over the world. They said, you'll start using American toothpaste, you'll become a capitalist, a rotten capitalist. So we tried to do everything with local representatives. It didn't work for us. And in '81, I took Leora and my kids, and we went to Los Angeles. A good friend of mine went to New York, and we started Netafim USA. I'm not, I'm joking a lot. I'm not kidding. I felt as a pioneer. I felt that I'm doing something for the kibbutz and for my friend. So it was another chapter of pioneering. Some best practices. The Israeli Arava Desert. Again, it has for me a special place. As a young salesperson, and we refuse to be called salespeople, it has some negative connotations. So we were field service people. So I was a field service person for the Arava region, and as you can see, about 20 farming settlements, 65% of Israeli vegetable exports come from the Arava, no rainfall, partners are essential, and JNF is partnering with us in the Arava. JNF is doing beautiful things in the Arava and in the Negev, collaborating with the Central Arava Council, which is the kind of municipality of the region, and they are doing beautiful things together. and not everything is considered or connected to drip irrigation in JNF's work. Be'er Sheva, JNF built, I don't know if you haven't visited the lake park in Be'er Sheva, you must go and visit it. It's amazing. I mean, in the middle of the desert, suddenly you have a beautiful lake and people are spending leisure time there. It's so beautiful. We have a reservoir to treat wastewater that was built by JNF near our kibbutz, and we are irrigating our jojoba field with treated water from this reservoir. We have a great project in India, and this is really, I mean, this is, we are doing well all over the world, but there are some things that especially make me proud. This is a project with 6,700 smallholder growers, farmers, in 22 villages. And each one has his own small plot that he is growing, and we are supplying the irrigation system. So the government is building all the infrastructure, and then we take it from there, and each farmer gets a control head, which, by the way, he can operate with his cellular phone, and the system to irrigate his crops, and it can be cotton, corn, herbs, everything. We did a lot of publicity to recruit 6,700 growers. We helped them to build what in every village a water user association. Well, at the beginning we had to do the basic explanation and then follow up and so on. And we insisted on being there in the field for 5 years. Everything was, the investment came from the government. And the fact that we were there in the field, our agronomists, our technicians, for 5 years, kind of took away, it was, I don't know if any of you are bankers, but it was de-risking of the investment. It was assuring the success. The fact that we were there for 5 years, in a way we insisted to have it as part of the contract, and the results were amazing. And there are visible results, but there are also results, you know, when a woman from that village comes and says, you know, this changed my life. I have more time. I don't have to carry water back and forth all day. I can spend more time with my family. And more important, suddenly I am responsible, and this is what the woman says, I'm responsible in bringing more money, more income to the family. And she's the one, I mean, we talk to her. We entrust her with this technology, innovation coming from Israel. If this is not women empowerment, I really don't know what is. And we really, I personally like this project a lot. We are trying to copy it to Africa, which is quite a challenge. And then we go to California, and you know, sometimes we're not that good. I mean, there's a huge dairy business in California. Millions of cows, and they grow a lot of corn and alfalfa to feed the cows. And we constantly spoke to them about increasing yield and saving water. And they said, we are not interested, we are happy. And then we listened, we said, but what is your pain? They said, pollution, contamination. The government is after us because the liquid cow manure is contaminating water resources. They will say it in a better accent.
Basically what we're trying to do is we're trying to replace the synthetic fertilizers that these dairymen have to buy if they have a drip system installed. The challenge they have is they produce a lot of value with their nutrients from the dairy manure.
In the dairy industry, we're blessed with having excrement come off of these cows and it's ponded in lagoons and then able to be pumped onto these fields. So with the old
This is the
standard
liquid
flood
cow
system,
manure.
that's been
This is the flood irrigation. This is how they used to irrigate the alfalfa
switched
field.
to drip irrigation. Now we're watering with fresh water through drip tape and not necessarily applying large amounts of manure.
Now we're seeing, because of the drought, more interest in drip irrigation on other row crops like silage corn. And that's why we're starting to look into using your lagoon water, your nutrient water, and putting it through a drip irrigation system instead of...
I hope that you get the message. We are taking the liquid cow manure, we are irrigating the corn, which is being fed to the cows. So this is the best example that I know of circular economy.
Dairy farmers come up against and dealing with their wastewater, and also a way to find some solutions that give them more efficiency tools from a water and fertilizer standpoint.
It's a game changer for the drip, and it's also a game changer for the way that we apply our manure water, where in the past it's just been these mass quantities that we would apply, and generally the top end of the field would get more than the bottom end, and it was never a uniform application.
So this is another one of things that really make me very proud. And the last one, and again JNF is involved, Wadi Atir project. Hura is a Bedouin town a little bit further east from Omer, east of Be'er Sheva, and they had an amazing mayor, Muhammad al-Nabari, and he came to us and he said, we would like to have this farm, sustainable Bedouin community in the Negev desert. And for about a year, we said, okay, we are with you. Our engineers helped them to plan everything, to design everything. Once every 2 weeks, we had a meeting of the steering committee at the kibbutz, and of course, after the meeting, having lunch at the kibbutz dining room. And we ended up building a very nice farm, which is both business, educational, tourism, and mainly Bedouin women. So this is an amazing project, and JNF was involved. By the way, the person on the right, the bottom picture, is Russell Robinson, CEO of JNF, at the inauguration of this project. So to summarize, Tikkun Olam. I really think that what we are doing is Tikkun Olam. We are trying to fix the world. I was at the United Nations Assembly meeting, General Assembly meeting in 2015, when they adopted the 17 SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. And I realized that we are touching in our work almost every goal. So of course, no poverty, working with rural poor farmers, zero hunger, gender equality, we spoke about women, empowerment, clean water, economic growth, and so on, climate action. And again, to me, sometimes number 17, which is partnerships, is perhaps the most important. There are things that you cannot do on your own. You need to work together with partners. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. Woo! Woo!